Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mock, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show. Hello, Maximal Beings. It is I, hopefully your favorite layman at this point, but I'll take second if that's the case. Jacky P. I am here with, of course, Doc Mock, the hostess with the mostest, largest calf muscles, and Dr. Varma. I'm very excited about today's topic because it's something I ask Doc Mock questions about, and now I'm starting to realize why he's excited too. We're talking about the skin microbiome, and it is wild how much it interconnects with your gut microbiome. So these two guys are going to talk, and I'm sure I'm gonna pull a flag because they're gonna get up there in the weeds. But it's my my pleasure to introduce these wonderful folks. Doc Mock, how are you today?
Hey, Jacky P. What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mock here. I'm a GI and functional medicine doctor practicing in Cleveland, Ohio for about the next month, and then moving down to sunny Florida. But, so excited to talk about this topic. I mean, Jacky P, you know that I nerd out about the microbiome all the time. And it's so interesting. We brought this up in a recent podcast and also through a recent client that we were working with who came to us. She was having skin problems. She was having a lot of acne for the first time in her life. And so, where I started, Jacky P? I started with the poop. I mean, that's where we always go in GI, but it's kind of interesting to make that connection, right? That I can do things to my skin by working on my gut microbiome and vice versa. And so I'm so excited to hear what Dr. Varma has to say. And so introducing to all of you Maximal Beings, Dr. Varma.
Hey guys, hey Jacky, hey Doc Mock. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to talk about the skin microbiome because a lot's been happening, and I'm sure your viewers and listeners would be really excited and interested to know what's been going on.
Paleo, keto, vegan, and carnivore. Maybe you've tried them all, but did you have success? Are you still doing that diet? Turns out there's not just one diet right for one particular person. By understanding how your body works and the relationship behind your body's workings and these diets, you can then approach the perfect plan for you. In the Perfect Human Diet course, we talk to you about your body's inner workings and the pros and cons of each plan. We discuss how our ancestors ate and have eaten and lay a framework to tailoring a plan that is perfect for you. To learn more about the Perfect Human Diet course, head to maximalbeing.com/courses to find out more. And as always, I'm Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your health. You cannot supplement your way to health, but there are things that we need to add to our lives that can maximize our pathway to wellness. The American diet is virtually devoid of omega-3 fatty acids, which play a major role in cardiovascular disease, gut permeability, and mental health. Personally, I take omega-3s every night, and iHerb is the best place for clean, natural sources of supplements. I love the ZenWise omega-3 fatty acid supplement, which is free of fish burps and good for the environment. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/iHerb, that's IHERB, and enter the code B as in boy, D as in dog, B as in boy, 5528 and receive 10% off your orders for all supplements. Maximize your supplements with iHerb.
If you don't mind just starting, I think our listeners would love to hear about your superhero origin story, how you've come to be the king of the skin microbiome.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a little background into who I am and kind of what my training is, and then tell you how kind of I fell into this almost sideways. So I'm a scientist by training. I have a PhD from Johns Hopkins. I actually have a background in organic chemistry before that. I have a master's in organic chemistry. But I basically am a biochemist and a molecular biologist. So I got my PhD at Johns Hopkins. I did a postdoc at UCSF, and then I started this company, Phyla. I've spent the last 11 or so years studying microbiome research, doing academic research, and then doing applied industrial research as well. And the field itself is less than 20 years old. So I've been really fortunate to be in this up and coming young field, which is so important, has had such a big scientific impact, as well as an impact on the public, which is showed so much interest in this. And it's been really exciting to see this field come up, different techniques applied, different applications of it in daily life. My origin story kind of starts when I was a postdoc at UCSF. I was basically looking at this technology called bacteriophages, or phages for short. And phages or phage technology is potentially very powerful. It has a very interesting scientific history that goes back over 100 years, was impacted by 2 world wars. And coming to the present day, with the antibiotic crisis, as I'm sure you as a GI doctor know very much about, given where we are with the antibiotic crisis, phage technology is one of the most promising solutions for this technology that exists right now. So I was sort of at the very forefront of this. I think people are just starting to realize how powerful this could be. And I was trying to apply this technology to a field. And that's where I kind of learned more about acne. And it surprised me that although acne has been around for so long, almost everyone gets it, right? 85% or more of us get it. And there's, it's a huge industry. There has just not been any innovation in the last 40 years to speak of. The last novel drug for acne was introduced 40 years ago. And it's a real shame because the current, products just aren't very good. In fact, when I met my co-founder, I was trying to apply phage technology to acne. And when she heard that, she perked up. So my co-founder is Maria. She's a very accomplished pharma executive, more than 15 years of experience in big pharma. And she has had acne for her whole adult life since she was a teenager. She's obviously, as you can imagine, like most people, desperate to get rid of it. She went through 3 rounds of Accutane. It did not get rid of her acne. It did give her liver damage, though. And so now she still has a restrictive diet and can't eat certain foods. And when she heard about this, she was it just sparked something in her. And so we got to work and we, started doing basic research. We got NIH grants to study this. And fundamentally, we wanted to bring a new approach informed by the latest science and backed by clinical proof that avoids that gives you the same results as that everyone wants to see, but without the side effects, the harshness, and the relapses, because with acne, relapses are a huge part. And we'll talk about, why that is, what is the main cause of acne, how do we treat it now, what's a better way. But those were some of the kind of key motivators for us to take this key piece of innovation and bring it to the market where everyone can benefit from it, and really it can impact the maximum number of lives.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I do have to pull my lay card, but I just wanted to say that that's very interesting. It seems like you definitely put in the time to research and actually get evidence-based, right? Like the facts, right? Not just what feels right or just trying to push, this type of treatment. But I'd like to say, and then I'd like you to explain, and if I missed it, I'm the layman, so you have to forgive me. Phage technology. Is it phage technology with a soft G? Okay. Explain that to me and probably a few folks listening. What exactly is phage technology from a high level, non-PhD having person like myself?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was hoping you'd ask that question because usually people can't get me to shut up about it.
Well, we'll see how this goes and then we'll take it from there.
Right. So you've been forewarned. So phages or bacteriophages are harmless little viruses that are all around us. They're in the soil, they're in marine life, in the seawater. They're on us, they're in us, and they're very numerous. They don't really interact with human cells, but they're very, very good killers of bacteria. And so their food is bacteria. In fact, phages are the dominant life form on this planet. There are more phages on Earth than every other life form combined. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, people, plants, insects, everything. They're also nature's best defense against bacteria. So about every 48 hours, every 2 days, half of all bacteria on Earth are killed and turned over by phages. And that's a huge amount of biomass that is turned over. And it's really, really important in our ecological systems that phages do that. Now, we're constantly bathed in phages. Our gut is full of phages, our skin, our mouth, In fact, billions of phages pass through our body every day. And, for the most part, like they don't even trigger the basic, human response. There are phages for pretty much every bacteria we think on Earth. So the cool thing about phages is that a phage for a certain bacterium will only kill that bacterium and will not kill anything else. So a phage for E. coli, and Doc Mark, you know this, right? Our gut flora is so numerous. Let's say I dropped an E. coli phage into your system, it would only be able to kill the E. coli in your system and not any other bacteria in your gut. So if you think about it, it's a very, very smart way to go after a single bacterium if that's what you want, right? Because sometimes you have an open wound, you don't want just one bacteria killed. You want all bacteria killed. You don't want any bacteria around there. So you put on something broad spectrum like antibiotic or ethanol, whatever. But in some cases, like, gut dysbiosis or something, an antibiotic is probably the thing you don't want because it's going to just kill everything. It's going to go after the bad guy and the good guys. Phages can help you kill just the bad guy without hurting the good guys.
Wow. I mean, I don't know where to start with all that information you gave me. I mean, like in my brain, there is a epic war or battle going on that we don't even know about between phages and bacteria, like just on the magnitude that's wild. And the fact that there's so many phages. So, okay, so phages, all right. So phages are good. I'm assuming most of the time, all the time, right? Phages don't go rogue or, okay, so like, what is it that, how are you applying that, I suppose? Right, like it's not like you could just kind of put it in a tube, right? Or is that the way?
Well, we ended up putting in a tube, but it was very much not a linear, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of, problem solving around very, very difficult problems. And overcoming a lot of challenges that allowed us to do that. So yes, at the end of the day, it sounds simple. We put it in a box or in a tube, but it took a lot to get there.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? It's Doc Mock here. Many of you are returning to the gym now, but some are not going back. Regardless of what you plan, Rogue has got the right gear to fit your needs. I personally own a barbell set and love it. The Black Ops shorts are sweat resistant and flexible for getting deep in your squats. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/rogue for our referral link. Order 3 items and they ship for free. And as usual, it's Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your pathway to wellness. If you're stuck at home and cannot make it to the grocery store, delivery may be the best way to stay clean and healthy. Instacart is the national leader in the direct-to-home delivery service. With numerous major chains and food from smaller stores, you can get those local veggies sent directly to your doorstep. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/Instacart and maximize your nutrition today.
The parallel stories of our skin and our GI tract cannot be unsaid with you two here, right? I read something. Our skin, which I never thought is our largest organ, which is something we could talk about or not, right? And essentially, it's like our defense against I'm a germaphobe, so I think the whole world is gross all the time, but it's essentially our defense against this gross, dirty world, these dirty doorknobs all over the place, right? And then our stomach is basically what is our internal, like, defense system. So there's gotta be, I mean, so I know there's a lot of parallels. And, you know, Doc Mock, I would love for you just to talk to us a little bit about like those parallels and, you know, talk about that, the gut skin axis, right? And how they play off each other.
Yeah, we've talked about the brain gut axis, but we haven't talked about the skin gut axis specifically. And, you know, Dr. Varma, feel free to chime in here if I'm saying something out of line in your territory, but the territories being separate are part of it, right? So Dr. Varma being in the box down there and me being in the box up here, that is kind of how it works. They talk to each other, you know, us talking through Zoom, but staying within their confined compartment is also integral to the success. And it's also what they're saying. So, you know, if I started to be hostile to Dr. Varma or generate inflammatory cytokines, he wouldn't like that. And he'd react in a specific way that was probably negative as well. Such is true, but with both microbiomes, right? So they're constantly making compounds, sharing signals, and changing the composition of each other based upon the hostile or non-hostile environment that's introduced to both areas. But they stay within their compartment, and if that compartment bursts open, they also have more of a potential to interact, and that can be either, you know, usually really bad, because if the box breaks down, that's usually from a bad thing. Did I explain that okay?
Yeah. I mean,
In a layman way, yeah.
Totally. I think I can add to that probably and say that just a couple of facts will help to situate this in some people's minds. So the gut is an area of very high immune activity. So the immune system is extremely high at the interface of where the bacteria end and, you know, human cells begin. The same is true for the skin. There's a lot of immune cell buildup under the skin, under the dermis. And there is a commonality there because, you know, we think of our intestine as having this huge surface area that helps absorb all these nutrients. Well, the skin is your heaviest organ. It's also your largest organ by surface area, because we think of the skin as this flat surface. In fact, we discount the pores. And these pores are like these narrow, deep wells coming down from the surface. But if you include the pore surface area, I think it's something like 3 times the surface area of our intestine. So this is a really, really important space. And Jacky, like you said, our skin is how we interact with the world for the most part, right? We're touching stuff. We're touching soil and things and objects and dirty doorknobs and our own skin, and we're tying laces, you know, and all of these surfaces have bacteria. So it's almost a minor miracle that we don't have just random stuff growing on us all the time. A lot of that has to do with the skin's innate defenses, but a lot also has to do with our skin microbiome, which is this community of bacteria that lives on us and prevents anything else from growing. So given that these are 2 areas of high immune activity, there's a lot of spillover. If your skin is not happy, your gut will feel it. If your gut is not happy, your skin will feel it. We haven't fully uncovered all of these links yet, and we don't know how the crosstalk exactly happens, but we do have an inkling of the fact that it does happen. And so this is an area where we're learning more every day.
Oh boy, this is, Doc Mock as the GI superhero that he is, right? Like, I always was like, man, why does Doc Mock know so much about everything else as well? And then you don't realize that it's because the gut is just connected to everything. So it's just really interesting to know and see how, like, yeah, your skin is like way more important and taking much bigger role in your health and how your health presents than folks realize, right? Like, I just, I have a pimple. I'm like, I must, scratch my face when I had like grease on my fingers or something. I don't know. Like, I don't, or if, I know folks who might have like a outbreak or a rash and they think it's just something topical. Like, oh, I got to put some lotion on it, or I just got to, wash myself with some, peppermint soap or something. Right. And it's like, no, there's a bigger story. You got to, it could be your body crying for help that's completely unrelated to your skin. And the fact that I'm 34 years old just now learning this is cool, but also unfair when people need to know this, right?
Jacky,
Well,
I bet your mom said something to you, right? She was probably like, stop eating that pizza because you're going to get pimples, right? But she may have known that. She may not have known the why. Maybe she did. Your mom's pretty smart. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she knew, but that's why, right?
That's why. Yeah. Right. And that leads to a question that I've always had. I've always heard, and Dr. Varma, I need you to, the people need to know, right? Oh, if you eat too much chocolate, you're going to break out. If you eat too much greasy food, you're going to break out. Some people used to have their own thing, like, oh, if I eat too much cucumber, I'm going to break out. All right. Like, I mean, in a sense, it may be connected, it may be not, but like, can you speak to, I guess, like your diet and, you know, and how that might affect or show in your skin?
Absolutely. So let me wind up a little bit and then I'll get your question, because I think setting the table here is important. You know, I always start by saying that most people should know that they have a rainforest on their skin, a rainforest's worth of diversity, right? This rainforest, its trees are made out of microbes, bacteria, fungi, viruses, and that's what we call the microbiome. And it's a rich, diverse community that lives on your skin, it lives in your gut, and it actually has a very important protective function. Now, you are healthy, I'm healthy, we're healthy in different ways. Our microbiomes are probably very different, but when we're healthy, our microbiomes are in balance. When you have a chronic bacterial disease like acne or even eczema or rosacea, a bad bacteria comes in and overgrows, disrupting this balance and causing an imbalance. So to get back to clear skin, you need to redress that balance and get back to the balanced state. Harsh products, and by the way, all acne active ingredients are antibacterial. Your antibiotics, benzoyl peroxide, retinoids, they're all antibacterial. But while they're killing the bad bacteria, they also kill the good bacteria because they're indiscriminate killers, right? So it's taking this rainforest and converting it into a desert by killing all the trees. You don't want that. You want to go only after the bad guy, reduce its population to a normal level so your microbiome can get back in balance. Now, switching to acne, what causes acne? Yes, you're absolutely right. There are many, many factors because acne is complex, right? Diet, stress, hormones, genetics, they all play a role. But what they do to your skin is they change the quality or quantity of sebum that's made on your skin. Now, sebum is just this oil that's produced by our skin, right? It's really important for our skin because the reason your skin produces it is to keep your sort of skin cells moist, lock that moisture in, prevent, premature aging and fine lines and wrinkles. Now, this sebum is also the main food for a bacterium called C. acnes or Cutibacterium acnes. It's on everyone's face. It's on your face. It's on my face. It's on the face of every adult on this planet. But obviously, we don't all have acne. That is because we all have our own balance with C. acnes, the C. acnes that lives on our skin. When you change that amount or quality of sebum on your skin, it changes the level of food for the bacterium, right? And if the bacterium sees extra food, it overgrows. This pings your immune system, and the immune system says, wait, there's too much of this bacteria growing. I'm going to inflame the immune system, the skin, in order to get rid of it. And that's the inflammation. The pimples is just that. That's the inflammation from your immune system. So yes, if someone eats chocolate or spicy food or whatever their trigger food is that changes their sebum on their face, that results in the overgrowth and that causes acne. Now, the oiliness or the change in the sebum is an indirect cause of acne. The direct cause is the overgrowth. So some people try to dry out their skin, but obviously, given that sebum is needed for your skin to keep it hydrated, to keep it from aging, that's not a great idea. Instead, if you could kill or control the overgrowth of the bacteria, you can have skin as oily as you want, right? It doesn't matter. But your skin will still be clear.
Woo! The metaphors are just, I mean, on target every time. I have no question. I can't even throw a lay card because it was like such a well described, answer. Okay. All right. Well, Dr. Varma, I see where you are, and I'm going to meet you there because I have more questions. Okay. So food can potentially, right, cause these flare-ups, right? And you say, yes, hormonal, right? And all those other things that have that potential. So what would you say is one of, when it comes to someone's skin microbiome, like what would you say is like the number one mistake you see? Like if there's like something that you see more widespread, okay, like if you can say something right now that everyone out there that's doing something that's terrible for their skin microbiome, and you could say, hey, listen, cut it out, what would that be and why?
I'll give you two. And I think the first one is, like I said, people think drying out their skin is probably the solution for acne or some other condition. There's two things wrong with it. The first is that it's usually not the answer. Sebum is produced by our skin for a reason. It's natural and it actually protects your skin. The second is your skin is a homeostatic system. So your skin wants to hydrate itself at a certain level. If you take away that hydration, if you keep taking away the oil that it produces, it actually kicks the sebaceous glands into overdrive. It makes it want to produce more and more because it's trying to get that hydration level up to a certain point. And so usually after drying out their skin, when people like take a break from that and say, oh man, my skin's so dry, I need a break, your skin is revved up to needing to produce so much oil that kind of wave of oil splashing on your skin is overwhelming. And people say, oh my God, this is why I keep drying out my skin, because my skin is so oily. No, you're actually doing that to your skin. So when you stop over cleansing your skin and stripping it, yes, it takes a few weeks, but your skin, being a homeostatic system, will slowly slow down its oil production and say, oh, this person isn't removing all the oil from my skin as much. And so maybe I should stop producing that oil. It's a gradual process. It takes a while, but that's one thing you shouldn't do. The other thing is, probably use as few ingredients as your skin needs. There was a study that showed that on average, in modern society, a woman puts on 500 ingredients on her skin in a single day. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't think you need every one of those 500 ingredients. And if you think about the number of ingredients, I mean, at some point it's just choking your skin and your skin is having to deal with that burden. And that might be one of the reasons why our sensitivity to acne, to pollution, to all of these things is so much higher now, because yes, there's pollution, it's extrinsic, but then there's stuff that we're putting on our own skin because, out of choice, that maybe we don't need to.
Wow, those are two very well. Have you received these questions before and you just kind of have them in the pocket, or?
No, I just think about them a lot because
it's
something that I gotta think about all the time, and especially when we're making our products, right? Trying to make things that are highly effective but also not unnecessary. That minimalist ethos is just part of our company.
Wow, and so we know, and we have discussed explicitly, you have tum issues in your GI. Boom, this flare goes up. Your skin, you might get a rash or something. Is there anything reverse, Doc Mock? Is there something where something like a ailment of the skin might upset your stomach? Is it flagged down as well?
Yeah, there definitely are conditions like that. I think that the thing that comes to mind probably first and foremost is atopy, which in normal people talk means allergy conditions. And maybe you agree or disagree with that, Dr. Varma, but a lot of people will get allergy conditions first manifesting on their skin, and then it will pop up other places. So then they'll get asthma, then they'll get nasal polyps, then they'll develop their food allergies later in life. And I think that there is a kind of a bi-directional flow with those sorts of conditions as well. A big example of where the skin is crying out for help in the GI world is in inflammatory bowel disease. On a prior podcast, we had Dr. Susan Case and Dr. Mo Naeem, two inflammatory bowel disease experts, come and talk to it. But for Crohn's disease, for ulcerative colitis, often we'll see people start their flare by developing certain rashes on their skin, even if they don't have diarrhea, if they don't have GI symptoms yet, that's the first warning sign that something is brewing inside of the gut. So, it's this fascinating interplay with these conditions. And I'd say that the common thread, as you alluded to, Dr. Varma, is that inflammation, right? There's this immune or inflammation crosstalk that's going on that really mitigates the process.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mock here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.